Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Sharmit. In this session, we are going to discuss about another medical related prefixes that denotes the direction or position. Okay, so in our previous session also we have covered few more sessions for the same where we discussed all the medical terminology related prefixes that denotes the direction and position. So today again we are going to carry forward this sessions series in the for the further prefixes. Okay, so how we are going to proceed with this? First of all, I'll tell you about the prefixes that we are going to learn today with their meaning, and after understanding those prefix and meanings, we will also cover few examples that will show how we can read that in medical terminology or in medical domain. Okay, because through example only we will be able to make sure how to identify the particular terminology with their prefix. So before we start, let me tell you about the one thing why we use prefix. So prefix is something that attached with the medical terminology at the beginning, and it denotes something, or you can say it changes the meaning of the terminology. So somehow it is indicating the information related to the direction, position, or many other things are there. Maybe in upcoming session also we will discuss about those things that is denoted by the prefixes. Okay, so let's jump to the next slide and see what we have. First prefix. So first prefix is sub. Sub, which is used to showcase something as under. So whenever you want to show something as under, then in that case we will utilize the prefix sub. Okay, so from the definition it is quite clear, yes, sub is something that produces sound of under. But when you are actually working for a medical domain, and then when you see some terminology which is composed with these prefixes, then it might be bit tricky for you to identify. So make it to make it that much easy for you, I'll show you some examples. So you can focus on the first example, which is sublingual. Now what is sublingual? Sublingual means under the tongue. Okay, so you can see it is producing a sound of under the tongue. So whenever we are going to showcase something as under the tongue, then we will use the terminology sublingual, which is composed with the prefix sub. Okay, so sub is a prefix and lingual is something related to tongue, or you can say it is used to denote the tongue. Okay, now look at the second example. Second example is subclavian. Subclavian means under the clavicle or collarbone. So it is most properly known as collarbone. So when we want to showcase something as under the clavicle, we will use the terminology collarbone. Sorry, we will use the terminology subclavian, which is again used to showcase something under the collarbone. So clavicle or collarbone are same, and the terminology that we are using to represent is subclavian, where sub is a prefix and clavian is the clavicle or collarbone. Okay. Similarly, if you look at the third example, it is for subcutaneous. Subcutaneous means under the skin. So just assume a scenario where a patient is suffering from some disease which is impacting his inner layer of skin, or you can say something is under the skin. So in this situation, the doctors will provide the prescription which may contain this prefix or terminology, which is subcutaneous. Subcutaneous means under the skin, something is under the skin. Okay, now if you look at all the three examples from the top to third position, you will find that one thing is common, which is under. Okay, even in the fourth one, under is something that is present in every sentences, because the prefix sub is used to showcase something as under. Okay, similarly, if you look at the fourth example, you will find below or under the ribs. So again, if you want to showcase something as under the ribs, then in that case you will utilize the prefix sub with the terminology costal. So subcostal means under or beneath the ribs. So you can see below or beneath is something that is also used for the same purpose, right? Fine. So this is the one example and one prefix. Now we will move to the next one. Next one is super or supra. super or supra, which is used to showcase something as above or upon. Okay, so when we want to showcase something as above or upon, then in that case we will utilize the uh, prefix which is either super or supra. Both are used for the same purpose. Let's see the example. So first example is supraclavicular. Supraclavicular, which means above the clavicle or collarbone. So you can relate it with the previous prefix, because there we discussed about subclavian, right? Similarly, the opposite word for subclavian is supraclavicular. Supraclavicular, which is above the clavicle or collarbone. Okay. Now, if you look at the second example, it is supraorbital. Supraorbital means something is above or upon the eye socket. So when we want to showcase something as above the eye socket, then we will use the terminology supraorbital, which is composed with the prefix supra. Similarly, if you want to talk about the kidneys, then we will use the prefix and terminology suprarenal. Suprarenal means above the kidney. So when we want to show something about the kidney in any of the diagnosis report or in any of the lab report, then we will use the terminology suprarenal and the prefix supra, which is used to showcase something as above or upon. Similarly, we have suprapubic, which means located above the pubic bone. So if something is located above the pubic bone, then that thing will be represented with the terminology suprapubic. Okay, so far we have covered two prefixes, which is sub, which is used to showcase something as under, and then we have super and supra, which is used to showcase something as above and upon. Then we have third prefix, which is a combination of multiple, you can say there are multiple alternative prefixes that is used for the same purpose. So I just combined those prefixes, and which is like this: sy, syl, sym, syn, and sys. So these all prefixes are used in order to showcase something as together. You got my point? So when you want to showcase or you want to produce a sound of together, then in that case you will use the prefix either sy, either syl, sym, syn, or sys. Okay, fine. Now look at the syndactyl, the first example. Now what is syndactyly? Syndactyly means the condition in which fingers or toes are fused together. So if you can see in this example, we are indicating something as a fusion of something, right? Fused together, finger or toes. Then in that case we will use the terminology syndactyly, which is composed with the prefix syn. Now similarly, if you look at the second example, which is syndrome. Now what is syndrome? A group of symptoms that consistently occur together and characterize a specific condition or disease. So when some symptoms are consistently act together, built together in order to characterize a specific condition or the disease, then in that case we will use the terminology syndrome, which is composed of the prefix syn. Okay, so in these two examples we covered about the syn prefix. Now similarly we have sympathy. Sympathy means a condition in which different elements or substances act together to produce a combined effect. Then in that case we will call it as sympathy, which is composed with the prefix sym. So again here you can see combined effect. To produce a combined effect, substances and elements come to act together. So again it is producing the sound of togetherness. Then we have synthesis. Synthesis means a process of combining different elements to create a new whole. So when different elements come together, build together, then to create something new, then in that case we will call it as a synthesis, which is composed with the prefix syn. So yeah, these are the all alternative names which is used in order to showcase something as together. Fine. Then we have another thing which is trans. Trans means across or through. When you want to showcase something as across or through, then in that case we will use the prefix trans. For example, transabdominal. Now what is transabdominal? Across or through a abdominal wall. So when we want to showcase something across and through the abdominal wall, then we will use the terminology transabdominal, which contains the prefix as trans. Likewise, we have another example which is transcranial. Transcranial means across or through the skull. So when we want to denote something across the or through the skull, then we will use the transcranial. Similarly, if you want to showcase something across the esophagus, then you will use the terminology uh, transesophageal, okay, which is used to showcase across the esophagus or through the esophagus. Likewise, we have another example which is for transformal moral, which is across or through the femur thigh bone. So when we want to show something as femoral, transfemoral, then it is used to showcase something as across or through the thigh bone or femur. So yeah, these are the all prefixes which I wanted to share with you in this session. I hope it is clear to all of you. And for today we have one question: what information is provided by the prefix post and pre? So if you know the answer for this question, please share your knowledge in the comment section so that others can take a reference from it. And if there is any issue with this question, then I recommend you to go and check out the previous session, because these are the things that we have already covered in previous sessions separately. And these all are very important, so keep a note of it so that it will help you to prepare for your interview and exams. So yeah, that's all for today. In the next session we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.